We are not here merely for a pleasant stay in the mountains, to hear a few speeches and then go back to the mess that we are in, not even in a position to criticize.
The mission of the Aspen Institute is to foster the good society. We bring people together for conversation and dialogue, and it's always about empowering people, individuals and communities to make an impact together to get demonstrable results.
We're an organization committed to working with people to improve their communities, improve their countries, improve the world.
The Aspen Institute for Humanistic Studies was founded in the fall of 1949.
Right after World War II, major leaders were thinking about how could we avoid having a war like that again. And a group of leaders got together to talk about what is a good society.
Our founder, Walter Pepke, who decided that he would create a special place where we could bring people together to be surrounded by space and beauty and serenity, and to gain a whole new perspective on life for the real work that we're committed to doing every day.
This is my first experience here at the Aspen Institute. I see all the great minds and the opportunities that are here to help improve the world.
The Aspen Global Leadership Network requires of every fellow to launch a project, a venture of some sort that would have an impact on the world. We have fellows in Central America working on malnutrition. We have fellows in the Middle East worried about youth unemployment. We're 2,500 fellows in 51 countries. Each of them has launched a venture of deep significance.
In thinking about who you want to lead the greatest nation in the history of the earth, the most important single characteristic is their character.
One of the best things about values-based leadership, the way the Aspen Institute fosters it, is that we really engage a diversity of leaders, and so they can find the areas of agreement and commonality.
We believe fundamentally that people all want the same thing. They want better lives for themselves, better lives for their families, better lives for their communities.
Actually talk and listen to people you don't agree with.
What sets Aspen apart, in my opinion, is both the art and science of convening. We convene people together to try to work on finding common ground and trying to find viable solutions to those complex issues.
We have more than 30 policy programs, and they're all different. We cover issues from energy and environment to health and poverty and foreign policy. The attraction of people coming together is extraordinary.
Our mission, if you will, is to try to educate and inspire the public to think about diverse ideas, and we're really lucky to be able to engage with a former president of the United States, to a community activist, to a Nobel laureate scientist. Our new initiative is around youth and engagement.
We focus around developing the leaders of today and tomorrow. Having the younger generation involved in the work of the Aspen Institute will actually make our work better.
We have to be a big tent where we include people and bring people in.
You wouldn't be working here at the Aspen Institute if you didn't believe that it's about something larger than yourself.
I love the way the Aspen Institute empowers individuals to frame problems in creative ways, and then comes up with innovative and actionable steps to go make demonstrable progress.
That the biggest thing we can do in any day is most often going to be a small act of decency.
Trying to figure out how to empathize with people we don't understand is the best way to work towards trying to get solutions.
At the very heart of the Aspen Institute, we're asking some really hard questions about what does it mean to lead, and how do you lead? And if that's not an attractive proposition, then I don't know what is.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Nia Yusuf. I'm the country managing director for Accenture in Nigeria, and I'm also a fellow of the 5th class of the African Leadership Initiative West Africa, ALEWA. Nigeria has an employability problem with 36% youth unemployment and less than 20% of our graduates being able to get their first job within the first 2 years. So my action pledge is to develop and inspire more than 1,000 underprivileged Nigerian graduates to get their first job through training, mentoring, coaching, interview readiness workshop, and partnership by 2020. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adela Mendoza. I am a Liberty Fellow and an adopted Cali. In 2015, I made a pledge to develop leadership, Hispanic leadership in South Carolina to address a gap in inclusive leadership, leaders that can truly relate to the issues of underserved communities. And today, I'm renewing that pledge. I am pledging to develop leadership development and self-discovery opportunities for Hispanic emerging leaders to collaborate and to lead across cultures and sectors. And my plan is to develop 100 leaders by 2020. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Caprice Young. I'm in the Pahara Fellowship. Go Pahara. We're well represented here. I'm from California. We have a big election coming up in the fall, and I have made my action pledge to get 10,000 16 to 22-year-old young people to register and vote and bring 5 people with them. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Javier Bru, CEO and founder of International Marine Experts. My action pledge, I'm Cali 13. Forgot it. My action pledge is to improve the well-being of seamen by providing mental health support and affordable internet broadband access in the Pacific anchorage of Panama Canal. And we're planning to target approximately 140,000 seamen a year by the year 2021. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Naven Salem, founder and CEO of Adicia, and Henry Crown Fellow Bones and Elephants class. My action pledge is to take all of you on a field trip with me. So we are starting with Sierra Leone in October, and the idea is to take the conversation and continue it in a place where we can actually see ideas up close and personal, and takes us to a point of action. And really in an effort to diversify our perspectives and then move to action. 10 years ago, I packed up my suitcase and wandered off to East Africa, and it changed my life forever. I love what I do. I want to show all of you all of the things that are possible when you get proximate and see what we can make happen as an active community here at Aspen. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Good. Well, good afternoon. I'm Tommy Loper, and I'm the Managing Director of the Resnick Aspen Action Forum, and I'd like to welcome you to the 2018 Action Forum. Our theme this year is fearless leadership, and to walk the walk, the team thought it was only appropriate to have the person with the greatest stage fright on stage to welcome you all, which is why I'm here today. So we'll talk about that more in just a second. Fearless leadership, that is, not my stage fright. But first, let's recognize who's in the room with us today. As you can tell, this is our biggest group ever. We have 450 people in the room. We have 340 adults from 30 countries, including 270 fellows from the Aspen Global Leadership Network. We have fellows from India, the Middle East, Africa, Central America, China, and all over the United States. If you are a fellow from the Aspen Global Leadership Network, please stand. Welcome, everyone. We also have 95 youth this year who are participating in our youth camp. Including my niece Zoe, who is participating for her first time. So welcome, Zoe. So glad you're here with your mom and dad, and my husband Dirk too, and sister Malia. We have, for the youth camp this week, we have some great seminars, workshops, field trips, and a whole lot of fun. So we're all really excited that you're here. And can I ask all the youth to please stand? Thank you. We also have the Aspen Institute's new CEO, Dan Porterfield, here with us today. Dan, please stand. It's been great to have Dan on board, and over the next few days, you're going to meet with him in dialogues. Tomorrow, he's going to be running a workshop, a guided journaling exercise with the youth camp to help them identify their passions and needs of their community and how they can take leadership to solve those sorts of problems. And then on the last day, we have some fellows who are going to introduce or interview Dan on stage at our closing plenary. So Dan, thank you. And I'd also like to welcome Karen, Dan's wife. So Karen Hurling, please stand. Thank you. We have Lynda and Stuart Resnick with us today. Woo! Thank you, Lynda. Since day one, they have seen the potential in this gathering and this community. So they are our greatest supporters, and I am just so grateful to have you here today with us. Joining them are 10 Resnick Fellows from the Central Valley who are involved with education, health and wellness, and community development services in California. I'd like to ask all the Resnick Fellows to please stand. Welcome, everyone. We have David Langstaff here today. David, can you please stand? David is humbly serving as our interim executive vice president for the Leadership and Seminars Division here at the Aspen Institute. He comes to the Aspen Institute, though, with 20 years of moderating experience, so he is deeply familiar with what we do in this community. And David is Cindy here today? Cindy, thank you for joining us as well. Cindy is David's wife. On day 3, we have a period of open collaboration, and David invites all of you to meet with him about the state of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, which is terrific, as well as the future of our endeavors. So please feel free to meet with David. And David, thank you for your service. David stepped into this leadership role after Peter Reiling, the founder of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, joined his Henry Crown classmate Reed Hastings at Netflix after 15 years of service to the Aspen Institute. Peter is here with his wife Denise and daughter Ava, and this evening we're going to be celebrating you with a whole lot of Bob Dylan music, crab cakes, dancing, and maybe a roast or 7. So we're really excited for you to be here. Peter, please stand. Woo! Also in the room are 35 moderators, our most ever. This group is led by Stace Lindsay and Dancy Glover. I'd also like to recognize Paul and Mary Anderson, who saw the need to develop and train a global moderator cohort for us to grow the network and have programs like the Action Forum. So could I ask all the moderators as well as Paul to please stand? Thank you so much. We could not do this without you. The Action Forum and the Aspen Global Leadership Network are also so fortunate to have such strong supporters from the Aspen Institute's Board of Trustees. I'd especially like to thank Margot Prisker, who can't be here today due to family reasons, as well as Lynda Resnick, Bill Mayer, Ann McNulty, Mike Klein, Hayne Hipp, and so many more. We're so grateful for everyone's leadership and support of our mission. Thank you. And I stand here representing a team of 100 amazing individuals who work on this event year-round. This includes members of the Aspen Global Leadership Network, the conference services team, vendors, volunteers. So if you are contributing to the Action Forum in any way, could I please ask you to stand for also a round of applause? They might be checking on the seminar rooms, so sorry about that. Finally, I want to thank the brave men and women who are protecting us right now from the Lake Christine wildfires that are taking place about 20 miles away from here. Our thoughts and thanks are with them, with these fearless individuals as they keep us and the nearby communities safe. So please offer a round of applause for them. Like all years, we start planning the action forum about 24 hours after the last one ends. Through conversations with fellows about the 2018 program, we heard unsettling concerns about the current state of the world, no matter what corner of the globe you come from. Shifts in trade and the global economy, changing politics, the rise of nationalism after a more globalized world, increased social fragmentation and isolation felt by millions. We also heard uncertainty about our future. What's the limits of artificial intelligence? What's the role of the human in the future? And how can we better prepare youth? What are the most important values for leaders to have as society navigates this inflection point? How can we build and adapt our society to create opportunities in the challenges that we now face? And for other issues, the status quo simply will not do. Access to capital and economic mobility, racial, gender, and LGBTQ equality, the treatment of migrants in desperate need of human compassion. It became clear to our team that the best way to explore these issues is through the lens of fearless leadership. And yesterday marked my 10th anniversary with the Aspen Institute, working with the Aspen Global Leadership Network. Thank you. And I say that because I have seen how this community faces fear head on. For some in this room, fearless leadership is an everyday act. Leading your business or organization through really uncertain times, leading your family through health scares or the loss of a loved one, leading authentically as a proud gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or queer person. For some with us, fearless leadership emerges due to extraordinary situations, like the wave of women and men who declared Me Too to sexual assault and harassment, and when fellows in the Central America program band together to work for a peaceful resolution to the deadly unrest that's ongoing in Nicaragua. Fearless leadership is when youth step up as role models when adults are simply not up to the task. Fearless leadership is when journalists, especially those in this room, speak truth to power at great personal risk. When leading fearlessly, it's easy, and sometimes it can feel really necessary to wear a mask. This action forum is for you. Drop your mask and do some self-care this week. The Action Forum has always been a program for fellows by fellows. Use this time to refresh and recharge. Tend to your heart and your soul with friends old and new. They're around you now. Tend to your body on one of our morning hikes or during the 5K run walk sponsored by Nike. Tend to your values and your mind in one of our dialogues. Bring your authentic self, actively listen, and challenge your own perspectives on issues. Use this time to recalibrate. And tend to the urgency within each of us to build the good society, starting with your own community. We're off to a strong start with over 200 action pledges collected alone this year, but we need more to hit our goal of 100% participation. That means everyone in this room, every adult, every youth, needs to make an action pledge. Please take one of these stickers and stick it on that great big wall, that 40-foot wall in the Marble Garden, so that we can close the gap between challenges and solutions in our society. And as such, I'm holding myself accountable to all of you. About 3 months ago, I started to work with David Brooks, who is also here today, to launch a new initiative at the Aspen Institute called Weave, the Social Fabric Project. Weave aims to tackle the rise of social fragmentation, isolation, and distrust in society by launching a decentralized effort around local community building. Through my work with Weave, my action pledge is to galvanize 100 communities in the United States to participate in local dialogues in an effort to rebuild our national fabric by 2020. I hope many of you will engage with us in this work. Thank you. I close by offering my thanks to the sponsors of the 2018 Action Forum. David Rubenstein for his continued support of the Action Forum as well as the China Fellowship Program. The McNulty Foundation, one of our deepest partnerships, will recognize the 2018 laureates this afternoon. I want to personally offer my congratulations to Hope, Meredad, Dave, and Govind for receiving this honor. Well done. As part of the McNulty celebration this afternoon, J. Cohen Gilbert will host a conversation with Darren Walker, president of the Ford Foundation, who also serves as a judge for the McNulty Prize. Darren, we're delighted to have you at the Action Forum here today. Thank you. And be sure to read the McNulty case studies that were distributed at registration this morning that highlight fellows as they go from moving from thought to action and the pivotal moments that they address along the way. The Skoll Foundation, sponsor of the Power Proximity Dialogue series, with 6 Skoll awardees who are leading impressive systems change work around the world. On day 3, they're going to be hosting a dinner in this room. You're all welcome to join them and learn more about the work of those individuals as well as the Skoll Foundation. The global law firm Paul Hastings, who has 4 executives and partners here today to support your action pledges with pro bono legal and professional services pretty much anywhere in the world. To date, 40 fellows have received a whopping 1,000 hours of support from their team. Thank you to Paul Hastings for their ongoing support. Care.com and Cognizant, who are underwriting our first town hall tomorrow and dialogue series on the future of work. Woo! And the MasterCard Center for Inclusive Growth, woo! For underwriting our second town hall on how we should be preparing for the new global economy. And of course, Lynda and Stuart Resnick, whose historic support provides base funding for this convening to take place through at least the year 2030. We're so grateful for your ongoing support. For those of you who have gotten to know Lynda and Stuart, you'll recognize a similar doer mentality. Just last month, I was in Delano, California, and saw again the scale and sophistication of their work addressing education and health and wellness efforts in the California Central Valley. Please join me in welcoming Lynda Resnick to the stage.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Look at these gorgeous people. It's so mean to make the shortest people sit in the back, though. Can you see? Okay. It's always a pleasure to be here and to address you all. Unless, of course, you're afraid of groups, and that's called agoraphobia. Or standing, and that's called stasophobia. Believe it or not, it's a real fear. Stasophobia also means fear of the East German police. I don't have a fear of standing, but I do have a fear that people will think that I'm sitting down. Yes, folks, this is as tall as I get. I'm afraid of being stepped on. In case you couldn't tell, the theme of this year's forum is facing your fears and leading with fearlessness. Fear often means that you're doing things that take you out of your comfort zone. I was fortunate. I came from a privileged family. My family had the resources to put a roof over my head, to feed me, and to educate me. But even privilege can teach you lessons about fear that I found out at an early age. My dad was a motion picture producer. You may remember one of his most intellectual films, The Blob. At the age of 4, he took me to perform on the Horn and Harder Children's Hour, a live weekly show in the early days of television. He coached me every Thursday, and come Sunday morning, I went to the studio and delivered my stand-up comedy routine to a live audience in a packed theater. One week, he didn't get back from his business trip in time. And when the cameras rolled, I fumbled my lines and I started to cry on live television. I was mortified. I vowed never to go on TV again. When I got home, all the neighbors' kids were delighted to see that the precious little star fell flat on her face. But their teasing pushed me, and I was back in front of the cameras the following week with my head held high, or as high as it gets. And yes, I did well. I nailed my lines. I know it's not the most frightening situation anyone's ever been in. Many of you grow up in countries around the world and work in countries around the world with far bigger problems. But according to studies, people's number one fear is doing exactly what I was doing then and what I'm doing now, public speaking. Number two is death. Does that sound right? That means that the average person, if you go to a funeral, you're better off in the casket than you are doing the eulogy. Anyway, my TV meltdown seared several valuable lessons into my very young mind. Always be prepared. Don't let your doubts and fears take control. When I was 19, instead of finishing college, I decided to open my own advertising agency, aptly called Lynda Limited. And by the time I was 25, I was divorced with 2 children and one with special needs. Raising Jonathan with his epilepsy and learning disabilities has been a constant struggle of my life. I have been in fear every day for him. Fear for his well-being, fear of making the wrong choices for him and the rest of the family. But I'm grateful. I had to be strong, and that's where I think a great deal of my humanity was born. If you're looking for fearlessness, look no farther than the moms of the world. As I was struggling to balance raising a young family with the demands of keeping my advertising business afloat, my life took another turn. That was thanks to one of my most difficult clients. His name is Stuart Resnick. You guessed it. He turned out to be my future husband, business partner, and best friend. And after our relationship got serious, I confessed to Stuart that I had once Xeroxed some top secret papers. Of course, he didn't believe me. But he did believe me when the FBI came to my house at 5:30 the next night with a subpoena to appear before a grand jury the next morning. You see, I owned an 812 copier, and Daniel Ellsberg used it to copy the Pentagon Papers, which would eventually lead to the end of the war in Vietnam. I was on trial with Daniel Ellsberg as an unindicted co-conspirator. Talk about fear. Those 2 years of not knowing my future were really scary, and they took a big toll. But I was willing to take a risk for a cause that I deeply believed in. And I got through it. I didn't go to jail, and I got 90 seconds in the movie The Post. Family helped. Stuart and I got married. We combined our families. Stuart's 3 little kids and my 2 little kids, they're all 9 months and 15 minutes apart. And they loved each other instantly because, of course, they have a common enemy. In fact, some of our children are here. Wave your hands if you don't want to stand up, children. We joined forces as husband and wife, work partners, and we began to build the business that would become the wonderful company. I say to the women in this room, do not try this at home. Of course it worked out. We've been happily married for 35 years, and out of 45, that's not bad. I'm kidding. We have a great marriage. Over time, Stuart and I built the wonderful company into a global enterprise full of healthy brands that half of America enjoys every single year. Wonderful pistachios, almonds, halos, Palm Wonderful, Fiji Water, Justin, and Landmark Wines, and Teleflora. We worked hard building the company and raising our family. But then a few years ago, when most people are thinking about retiring, I was thinking about my next career. I still had the energy and passion to do much more, but I needed purpose in my life, and it was that realization that led to another one. I wanted to repay a life of success and privilege by living my second life in service for others. And thank you, David Brooks, for your constant inspiration. Sure, we supported many worthy organizations, including art museums and hospitals, and something we're particularly proud of, the Resnick Sustainability Institute at Caltech. But although we were happy to write checks, we rarely did the work ourselves, and it was time to change that. We decided that the greatest beneficiary of our efforts should be the people that were most responsible for our success. Our 5,000 employees and their families living in California's fertile, yet often forgotten, Central Valley of California. Most of us are blissfully unaware as we enjoy our kale salads that the Central Valley grows 2/3 of the nation's fruits and nuts and 1/3 of the vegetables. Sadly, the region that has the highest farm revenues ranks among the poorest in the state and the nation. Earlier, I joked about my problems as a privileged child. I was about to see what real problems are all about. I was heading into communities where people had to deal with life-threatening situations daily, going without food, the constant dark shadow of immigration, inadequate schools, never going to college, and most of the time, 30% didn't graduate high school. Impossible daily decisions. Should I buy a new pair of sneakers for my kid or put more food on the table? Looking back, it's hard to say how terrified I really was. I was starting over, like the first day of a job, fresh out of school. Besides, who was I to come into this place and tell these people how to live or what they needed? I approached the problem the way I do in business. I did research. We would never build a business without understanding our consumer. Likewise, we could never begin a project without thoroughly understanding the needs of the people there. Nothing reduces fear better than knowledge. For 6 months, we did our due diligence. We pored over maps and visited town after town. We met with school boards, teachers and principals, sheriffs and fire departments, community activists, and local leaders. Most were happy to hear of our involvement and supported us, but others were told by their supervisors, don't talk to them. Disappointing, but we were not deterred. After weighing all the options, we chose the little unincorporated town of Lost Hills, 13 miles from our pistachio plant. That's what it used to look like. 3 years ago, I stood here at the Action Forum and talked about our early work in Lost Hills. I won't go into all that detail today, but it is an amazing story. To see how far a community has come is remarkable. Based on our research, we built affordable homes. We put in sidewalks and storm drains and street lights. We paved the roads, and we planted drought-resistant landscaping. We did much of the work with the help of the Lost Hillians. And at the heart of the community is Wonderful Park, an incredible site. It has 2 community centers, 2 soccer fields, basketball and volleyball court, and a playground. And there's a huge variety of community activities every day, from Zumba classes to English as a second language to computer skills and so forth. But here's the problem. What good was all this work we were trying to help if the people didn't live long enough to enjoy it? As you know, obesity and diabetes are among the biggest problems in America today. A staggering 84 million Americans are pre-diabetic. That's 1 in 3. Many don't even know it. What's more disturbing is that more than 70% of those individuals will go on to develop diabetes. Just last month, the Center for Disease Control reported that the growing obesity problem is significantly higher in rural communities in America. In the Central Valley, almost 1 in 2 adults and 1 in 5 children are obese. An internal survey we conducted a few years ago estimated that 87% of our own employees would develop pre- or full diabetes by the time they reach their 50s without intervention. Sadly, 12% of our employees had diabetes already, a figure above the national, state, and even local rate. These are shocking statistics. to begin to find a solution, my team and I conducted in-depth and often emotional focus groups with our employees. Pretty quickly, we knew we needed to start a robust health and wellness program throughout the Central Valley in our orchards and processing plants. We interviewed 26 outside healthcare providers. We didn't like any of them. We had to do the work ourselves. That realization came with a new and deeper fear that I'd ever experienced. If I fail with a new product launch, we earn a little less money. But if I completely upended our approach to healthcare and failed, it would affect a lot of people in a serious way. It's not an exaggeration to say that there were lives at stake, and that's a big responsibility, but we felt we had no choice. Thank God I'm not making all the medical decisions. We created wonderful health and wellness to attack the problem on every front, in the workplace, at home, and in schools. To lead a life of wellness, these families needed to access proper tools and care. 3 years ago, I stood here and made an action pledge. The exact wording is on the screen. I pledged to effect a positive, meaningful change to improve the health and wellness of our employees and families in the Central Valley. Last time I was here, I showed you artist renderings of how our clinics would look and how we plan to staff them. I'm proud to say these are no longer concepts. A little over 2 years ago, we opened 2 wonderful health and wellness centers, one in Lost Hills and the other one in Delano, and this is our fabulous team. These modern, welcoming clinics are staffed with full-time bilingual doctors and nurses. We also have dietitians, health coaches, physical therapists, a psychiatrist, and psychiatric social workers. We even have a sleep disorder specialist. And doctor visits, tests, treatments, and medicine are all free. Looking at all those happy faces, it appears that we just opened our checkbook and wrote some checks. But it wasn't that easy. It's very hard staffing in the Central Valley. And we have an entire talent acquisition team that spends their time looking for the great professionals who are inspired by our vision and are willing to locate. Convincing the local people to live healthier lifestyles and take advantage of our program is also something that we struggle with every day. You know how difficult it is for you to change your own behavior. Can you imagine what it's like to inspire thousands of people in the Valley to change? One problem we face, many of our employees live far away, so for that reason, it wasn't practical for their families to use the clinic. So we added a mobile clinic, and we also committed to bringing health and wellness to the workday. And there's our Raymond Sy, our doctor who runs the mobile clinic. And he's not just a doctor, he's also an opera singer. And that's the truth. We also have fully equipped gyms on site. And at every break, we offer employees free healthy snacks. There are no sugary soft drinks or energy drinks in our plants or our orchards. God, I thought they were all going to leave when that decision came, but everybody came back. And our cafes only have affordable, healthy choices. We even have fresh produce market at our plant called the Mercado, and it's Whole Foods quality at Walmart prices every day. We recently launched a health ambassador program, and these are employees who go above and beyond their normal day's work. And we will soon have 40 health ambassadors helping their coworkers make healthier choices. It's a full court press, as you can see. So you might ask, how's it working? In 2015, 50% of our employees were pre-diabetic. Today, I'm pleased to report the number is down to 29%. That's a 42% reduction. You have no idea how this disease affects not only the person that is sick, but the entire family. So it is life-changing to make this approach. I hope you agree that our 2015 Action Pledge wasn't just words on a page, we delivered. Now it's time to update the pledge because I want to share with you today something I didn't include in my 2015 commitment, and that is the last 5 years of our work in education in the Central Valley. Let me start with a little perspective. Here I was, a woman with a grand total of 1 year of college, taking on the massive education issues of the woefully underserved Central Valley. That's either stupid or fearless. At least I was smart enough to get good help. We hired Noemi Donoso, a Pereira Scholar. She was the Chief Education Officer for Chicago Public Schools. Take a bow, honey. I figure if she could survive Chicago's school system, she could handle this project. And over the last 5 years, Noemi and her team have extended the reach of wonderful education across the valley. This includes our 2 best-in-class preschools, 2 charter schools, and an array of programs supporting 138 public schools. Right now, we touch the lives of more than 55,000 children. That's incredibly wide reach, and we support students every step of the way toward a high school diploma, a college degree, and job placement. Looking back, there were many times when we had to stand up to be fearless. Let me give you an example. Before I became involved with the education efforts in the Valley, our company had started a charter school in Delano, not far from our citrus plant. Back then, our name was Paramount. Our intentions were good, but we had chosen the wrong partners to work with, and the school was failing. Test scores were declining, and the state planned to deny our charter renewal, and they intended to close the school unless we improved significantly. But there was no time for hand-wringing. We took a bold step. We called a town hall meeting with all the parents and teachers. It was time to tell the truth about the poor performance. If we don't turn this test around, our school will be closed in 4 short months. We had 4 months. What happened next was one of the most inspiring moments in my whole story in the Central Valley. As the mic passed from parent to student to teacher, each pledged to do whatever it took to save the school they loved. Tears were flowing. There was a huge sense of determination. Test scores needed to go up by 46 points to remain open. In 4 short months, Noemi and her team got our scores up 48 points, and the school hasn't looked back since. The grit and energy of those students, teachers, inspired us to keep going. And when you're faced with seemingly insurmountable obstacles, the first thing you should do, and I do, is to step back, take a deep breath, and remind yourself why I'm doing this. We've seen a common thread across the Central Valley. All too often, existing public school systems and services fail people they are intended to help. Education has been no exception. Schools have been unable to keep pace with the changes necessary to help students in this rapidly changing, technologically advancing world. This just wasn't hurting the kids and their future. It was hurting businesses across the valley who needed a skilled workforce. And that's how our program, Wonderful Ag Preparation Program, started. We partner with high schools and colleges to arm students with an Associate of Science degree to get them ready for the high-tech agricultural jobs of the future. And we do it all by reinventing the high school experience. We are in a region where less than 30% of the students were meeting basic university admission requirements, and only 15% of the residents of the Central Valley possess a bachelor's degree. Can you imagine? A lot of skepticism, and who could blame people? We were talking about students from some of the poorest performing high schools coming into high school several levels below where they should be. How on earth could they earn a college degree and high school graduation? But we knew that given the opportunity, these kids could prevail. And with the promise of a fast track through college or a meaningful job in the not too distant future, they did it. And here's how it works. In addition to their core curriculum, high schoolers take courses conducted by college professors, earning college credit, so they are going to high school and college simultaneously. At the same time, they're immersed in a real work experience in our agriculture business, including paid internships. At graduation, students earn their high school diploma and an Associate of Science degree. Grads can either enter a skilled ag workforce with a guaranteed high-paying job between $35,000 and $50,000 a year, or they can attend a 4-year university, starting as a junior and finishing in half the time and half the cost. Both have been good motivators. Here's a photo of this year's graduating class. These are the ag prep students. Noemi took this picture. Thank God I didn't hire her for photography skills. It's so exciting because the kids in white are our kids. They're high school graduates with a college degree. And the ones in red are those who spent 2 years or more in community college. And that is an awesome sight. In addition to programs like Ag Prep, we have a proud tradition of offering grants and generous college scholarships to support youth across the Valley. This year, we awarded 223 renewable, wonderful college scholarships, the most in our history. And believe it or not, convincing Central Valley parents to send their kids to school far away, especially the females, is very difficult. The first couple of years, we took students to college visits to some of the best schools in the state and beyond, but the results were always the same. They opted for their local state school, which has the lowest completion rate of any public 4-year university in California. One mother later told me her biggest regret in life was that she had her daughter turn down Stanford to go to the local college. I know, but it's getting better. To help solve the problem, we marshaled a wide range of resources to address the need of low-income, often first-generation students. We have full-time specialists working diligently with our children in the high schools that we serve, giving the tools, the resource, the guidance to get into college, and just as importantly, to succeed once they're there. This hands-on individualized approach resulted in a 75% college graduation rate today. Pretty much unheard of with first-generation college students. I realize we've covered a lot of ground, and I'd like to end this journey through wonderful education where I started. The Delano School, where we held the emotional, heart-wrenching town hall, is the crown jewel of all that we've accomplished. Do we have the slide? There it is. Is that gorgeous? That first failing school has morphed into a dream school. Today, it is the magnificent, wonderful College Prep Academy. The school currently serves 1,500 students, all tuition free. At full build out, we'll have 2,000 preschoolers through 12th graders on campus every day, children from all over the area. This year, nearly 100% of our graduating class is going to college. In fact, an incredible 88% are headed to 4-year universities. Perhaps the most remarkable statistic is that 86% of these kids will be the first in their family to attend college. They stand as a beacon of hope to their siblings and to the entire community. Perhaps the most shining example of what our students can achieve is Xochitl Morales. She's only one of 1,000 Gates scholars nationwide. And after being accepted by too many schools to mention, and I mean every Ivy League, Xochitl decided to attend Harvard this fall. Just imagine the opportunities she'll now have in life. The wonderful academy has also been highly effective testing ground for integrating health and wellness programs into our schools. We launched our Soldiers of Change campaign to train 10th graders to inspire their peers and family to eat healthier. In our very own teaching kitchen and learning garden, students learn how to prepare healthy food they've grown themselves. It's hard to talk students into eating healthy without showing them what healthy food actually is. So we built Harvest Hall, home-cooked meals every day with no sugar and low sodium. This is what we hope every public school could look like someday. We've taken our commitment to our students out of the classroom as well. We have fit and fun summer camps to help kids focus on their mind, body, and spirit. And as you can see, we've come a long way in a short time in education, health, and wellness. But it isn't time to rest on our laurels. There's so much more to do in our vision of the Central Valley. That's why I wanted to rework my pledge today. Let me read you my new pledge. The Central Valley of California is our focus. I pledge that we will continue to grow our holistic approach to improving health, wellness, and education of our employees, their families, and the communities. That means continuing to reduce incidents of obesity, diabetes, stress in their lives, and providing a level playing field of first-class educational opportunities. And the choice of those last few words was especially important. There's no question in my mind that kids from any background can achieve the most amazing things if you create a level playing field. I'm a big believer in the public school system when it's working right. Every child deserves to shine. And we're committed to help boost opportunities for young people in every Central Valley community. Demography is not destiny. But my new pledge is more than simply adding a commitment to education. It's about creating a virtuous circle. We've had success building programs in silos. We had to do it that way. They were startups. Now the next phase is to integrate them. To grow a healthy community takes healthy, educated, empowered residents. Each sustains the other. Our focus is holistic. Health and wellness and education will live everywhere we do our work, in our clinics, in the workplace, our charter schools, in the public schools, and communities across the valley. I leave you with one last thought. When I think of all the need in the world, it's easy to become overwhelmed, and I'm sure you all feel that way many days. We can't save the world, but we can make a difference in our own little corner of the world, and ours is in California. One life, one family, one community at a time. What I hope to do is create a model. The Central Valley has been the petri dish of all these programs. We started there because that was the greatest need we faced, but it's also a place that can influence outcomes. My dream is that we don't stop here. We're hoping our integrated model becomes an inspiration to other businesses, governments, community leaders, and other individuals. It's a small price to pay to work on these issues now rather than to mend them later when the system is broken. This has easily been the most fulfilling chapter of my life. I've experienced a true transformation with the power of ideas backed by hard work, supported by great teamwork, and propelled by fearless leadership. I appreciate the opportunity to share my experiences with you today. I know it's been a long speech, and I appreciate your patience. And as you go out in the world to face your own fears headlong, remember the words of FDR as he tried to calm a panicked nation gripped in the Great Depression. The only thing you have to fear is fear itself. Very inspiring unless you suffer from phobophobia, the fear of being afraid. Then you're screwed. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Tamsin Smith, Henry Crown Fellow, Lucky 13. I think I'm the only one here to say. So I know some of you were up very early this morning to take a hike at Maroon Bells. My kids, Tabitha and Scully, were there. I stayed in bed to work on the poem I'm going to share with you now. But having taken that hike in years past, I know it's the perfect place to escape the craziness that surrounds us and get a little perspective. It's a perfect place to compose a poem, to paint a painting, to consider the path you're on. And in doing so, to consider the path that the world around you is also on. And in art making, as in life, you have to make choices about which conventions, which rules you want to follow, and which ones you want to break. So it's in that spirit that I've titled this poem, Maroon Bells. I was told there would be no math in this dominion of undressing, byword and behest and plein air. I simply sought a way to see more by assuming less. Locus stripped down to natural light and weather of mind, sensation selecting its own principal objects independent of edict or antecedent. Answers tell us so little when they are ordered, not felt by the self-daring disorder. That is why I come here, to know fear, to fail first, alone, without viewfinder, to define me or the quadrants that divide, where my trees tower too tall, their flattened leaves blurred by air of mind above these streams so narrow. It is hard to sort sky from shadow and wind shift, yet no one demands coherence from the painter, grumbling, what is she trying to say? This is the question for poets. As if we know much beyond, no one ever is, only one, among meadow and pure possibility, squeezing tubes and pleasing tones to accord answers as the absence thereof. We arrange and disarrange applications thick or faint to whim, yet within the sweet solace of freedom forgets the bothersome constraint of multipoint perspective. The need for paint to acquaint, to guide another's eye across the geometric plane towards some common vanishing point, such as a cliff or horizon, a gestured path, where we find ourselves treading water in the pooled law of concurrence, needing each other to stay afloat. Past pretending we're immune, we have had this fight before. Now is not the time for watchwords and euphemism, sides dividing from each other. Please stop saying you don't understand. Bring your imagination closer. What fools to think we can own knowing or each other. I drove a train through your mountains. He dug a tunnel in your sea, sunk the human odds. I am no better than you, or those we both dismiss. In the gut of the poem, a mouse hole, a crawling towards this. Heroes do not exist beyond history's peacetime wish. We intersect, two receding parallel lines appearing to converge. We are the tip of the iceberg. Thank you.